What up, YouTube? It's Rob Monty here, bringing you guys some more wrestling news content. How y'all doing? I hope y'all doing great. So, last week, as of Friday, there's been more news that's been breaking out. More on Tessa Blanchard. We're finding out that Kevin Owens is basically the guy who's behind the mask policy in WWE. One of the biggest matches that's been announced for basically this week. Brian Cage versus Pillman Jr. for the FTW Championship. And there's a lot more things going on. So I want to just go right into it and start off with Kevin Owens, because quite honestly, there's a lot that's been going on backstage as far as Kevin Owens is concerned. For one of the biggest things that's going on is that currently Kevin Owens has been noted as one of the main superstars that has pushed for WWE to enforce this mask policy, and he went on and confirmed those things today on Sports Illustrated, as Justin Barrasso pretty much asked him, "What made last week the right time for you to return to Raw?" Kevin replies, says, "I hurt my ankle at WrestleMania, so I needed time off. And then I came back, and then I went away again. I just felt like it was the right move for my family and I to sit out a few tapings of Raw and assess the COVID outbreak. We live in Orlando, so it's not just going to be the Performance Center. It's everywhere. We thought it was the right time to quarantine and practice safe guidelines. Last week, I saw the measures the company was taking, from the testing to splitting up the crews to make sure Raw and SmackDown wouldn't be there the same day, and sending out very clear indications that masks were required unless we were in the ring. As a big part of it, this is my wife. Big part of this is my wife lost her grandfather to COVID. We make these decisions together. I don't want anything I do to make my wife uncomfortable when I get back home. I want to make sure that she feels safe and that my children are safe. Every decision I make with her. She saw the efforts of the company made as well, and she said maybe it was time for me to go back to work because it's what I love to do. The company depends on me, and there are a lot of fans that look forward to seeing me on TV every week. So we're just trying to juggle everything. The family being safe, of course, but I also want to contribute to the shows with her blessing. I went back, and what I observed gave me hope and gave me a sense of security. It's been brought up at first the masks weren't being taken seriously enough. Eventually, a fine system was implemented to make sure people took it seriously. That came from me. I thought that the masks weren't being worn seriously enough. So I went and talked to the people in charge. They immediately did what they could to remedy the situation. I don't blame anybody for the mask thing. It's easy to forget how important those masks are. So people just straight up believe that the masks don't make a difference. That's their belief. But if we're going to work together and we're all trying to keep each other safe, I think it matters. If you have somebody in your family affected by this, the way my family was, it's a lot easier to remember that these masks make a huge difference. These masks do make a difference, and I felt it was important for people to take that seriously. I was pleased that the company felt the same way and made sure to get the message out to everybody that this is a big deal. That's why, in the end, I decided to come back. I feel comfortable going back to work, and I feel as safe as I can be there now. And you know what? I commend Kevin Owens for going over there, and just talking to Vince McMahon. In fact, you guys, here's the original article right here. And basically, it was reported that Kevin Owens had went to Vince McMahon, told him how uncomfortable he was with the lack of face masks being worn or the distance between stars. And, this is something that's been complained about amongst wrestling fans for the last maybe 3 months, 2 months since this COVID-19 thing, or whenever they started doing the live audience, which is the NXT stars that are not being used at the moment. You know, they're using them for an audience right now, and quite honestly, I think a lot of people were worried about that, and there was even rumors, even going back to WrestleMania, that people weren't practicing social distancing. But this is before the outbreak in Orlando occurred. Quite honestly, I commend WWE for going on and making this a strict policy. For those of you who don't know how much of a strict policy this is, if the person is caught not wearing a mask for a first offense, it's $500. And the person who's caught a second time, it's $1,000. I can only imagine it going up until the point where it's like, hey man, you're not good enough to be here because you're not thinking about everybody else, and they just send you home, or worse, fire you. That's, to me, that's the worst thing that could happen if you offend this policy. And I think this is also not just because Kevin Owens is concerned about his family. I think it's more so the fact that he raised his concerns to Vince ultimately helped Vince make the right decision to basically implement this mask policy and the social distancing policy. Main reason why I think Vince probably wanted to do this, Vince is a germaphobe himself. I mean, didn't you guys see him in fucking Money in the Bank where basically the guy, where AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan broke into his office, and after they left, he decides to put hand sanitizer on his hands? Oh, man. And I think there's even a lot of rumors about Vince just getting grotesque at the fact that somebody's sick near him. So, for this whole situation, I think Vince just said, you know what, that's the best thing we should do. And, when I look at this entire situation, it's probably best because they had this COVID-19 outbreak not too long ago because the whole state started to open up, for one. And you don't know who you come in contact with. And especially if you're opening up and there's a lot of people going, you never know who has it. You really just don't know until you get it yourself. And, there's a lot of things going on, with this COVID-19, which will lead me into my next story here, which I believe, do we have it up here? We should. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Lana last week, yes, Lana made an announcement that both her mother and father have tested positive for COVID-19. In fact, the father, I believe, and the mother are both at the ICU in critical care right now. Scary thought about that. But then it came out even more further that it wasn't just her mom, and then it wasn't just her dad, but now Rusev has tested positive. Her husband has tested positive for COVID-19. Do I think it's going to affect Rusev as much as it's going to affect Lana's parents? Probably not. Rusev looks healthy as a horse, and I'm pretty sure he takes good care of himself. I mean, the last time we saw Rusev, he had trimmed down from what he was when he started in WWE. So, I can only imagine he probably has the minor symptoms, but we cannot underestimate COVID-19, folks. But from what it sounds like in Rusev's message here, it sounds exactly that. But this is what he said. I am positive for COVID-19. I am absolutely 100% super mega incredibly positive. Yes, I got a phone call from the doctor. I got a random call from a number, and I answered, and she's like, is this? And then she tried to pronounce my name 6 times. None of them were successful, but finally I agreed that this is definitely me, that she's trying to say. And she said, hey, you're in the contact. I'm like, what do you mean? I had my test results that said that I'm not. And she goes, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, I got the test result here and it says I don't have it. I don't know what you're talking about. And then I tried to convince her, how we try to discuss the whole detected and not detected. The not detected is a 0 to 1. I guess that means nothing. I guess just underneath the result, it says detected. So I guess day one, I feel great. I kind of knew that with the whole smell and taste situation, and now this just confirms it. So, if you guys want to know how serious this virus is, I mean, Lana was at work when this outbreak happened at WWE. I didn't want to assume that she exposed her parents to COVID-19. I didn't. I don't want to do that in speculation. But the fact that Rusev now has tested positive makes me wonder. Okay, I think she might have. And she might be positive herself. So I don't really want to. I don't want to assume that it was her that exposed them. But it seems the most highly likely source to their whole situation, just because she was at TV tapings. She was at the same tapings that Renee Young got tested positive, or Adam Pearce got positive, or even Kyla Braxton for a second time. I mean, man, it's just wow. I do wish Lana, Rusev, and their entire family, I hope they get better and get well soon. Just, guys, this virus is something not to fuck around with, and I've had a couple of family members that have already had COVID-19 out on the mainland, and they told me it's not the easiest feeling in the world, and in fact it really sucks when you have it. And then of course, you guys heard the guy on Facebook who made light of fucking COVID-19 has just passed away because of COVID-19. So, as far as this virus goes, I mean, don't be taking it lightly. And like Kevin Owens, who's trying to implement that mask policy, I'm asking you guys, wear your mask, wash your hands, carry hand sanitizer with you, wear gloves to a gas station, and of course, make sure you know your social distancing guidelines and CDC rules. If you're one of those guys who don't necessarily agree with that, I'm sorry. I know you feel that way, but hey, let's help everyone else get out of this situation so we all don't have to wear masks later. Let's put this damn virus to death. Let's instead of the virus putting us to death, let's put the virus to death. That's what I'm just saying. Alright, that's it for that situation. I believe there is a couple more stuff going around here. Alright. So as much as you guys, well, so we're going to go right into that in a little bit, actually. But as you guys know, I mentioned earlier, Brian Pillman Jr., the son of the great late Brian Pillman, loose cannon Brian Pillman, is working with AEW, and tomorrow night on AEW Dark, he'll be taking on Brian Cage. As you know, last week I pretty much said that he is still under contract with MLW, and there's even talks about him joining AEW once his contract expires. But this is what Brian Pillman Jr. has to say about working for AEW Dark. And because he made his debut last week against Shawn Spears, tomorrow he gets an FTW championship match against Brian Cage. So here we go. Major League Wrestling was wonderful. A wonderful, wonderful opportunity. It provided me with TV experience with the styles of matches that I was having. And the opponents were incredible. I had some of my best matches without a doubt. Amazing opportunities. But what happened with the COVID-19 pandemic? Most of the wrestling have been canceled. A lot of shows have been canceled. And my last show was with MLW, and I really want to continue my career with MLW because things were getting really hot, We were getting pushed, and as you all know, in wrestling, when things have a good momentum behind it, it's really not about the money and stuff. It's really about getting to express your art at the highest level and to work with the highest level guys. And that's what I was doing. So I was very happy there. And then he also goes on to say, I think that just what happened with the COVID-19 pandemic is they got a little bit of apprehensive about running shows, and meanwhile you got Impact and you got AEW, you have WWE running shows with no fans. So it was just hard for me to sit still and to wait for them to bring me an opportunity. So I just went out and chased the opportunities that were available to me. And per my contract, I was allowed to work for AEW. So it was kind of a no-brainer to start to chase an opportunity at AEW. I'm not sure what the future plans are or when their next show is. And I think not having that information, not having that security, knowing when I was going back to work, made it easier to look somewhere else for work. And you know what, guys? From what it sounds like, I'm going to say this much. As my opinion of Brian Pillman Jr., he's the kind of talent you want to have on your roster. Main reason is because he wants to work. He wants to go out there and express himself. It's not just about the money to him at this point. It's about getting that exposure. Just being able to connect with the fans, connect with the audience. I mean, this is the guy you want to have on your roster. He's going to be a guy that you can rely on because he's going to be the one to listen to the fans to see what's going on. He's the one that's going to try and put himself out there, which a lot of guys these days have a hard time doing. Even the guys at AEW, for that matter, they do have a hard time putting themselves out there. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of those guys who put themselves out there in AEW are only caring about the match quality instead of the character. And I could see some of those guys coming up with character, but they're still they're not too comfortable just yet. With WWE, it's about the character too and the exposure that you have. And it's about putting yourself out there. So when you want to get big and get into that main event spot, you want to make sure the fans see you for who you are and enjoy what you do and basically love your character. So to see Brian Pillman Jr. going out of his way to go find ways to get work and to put himself out there and to get his character out there, to me, this is why he's going to grow fantabulous in this entire industry, just because of the fact that he's taken the time to put himself out there. Even if he has to go to a show that breaches his contract, he's going to go out there and then get himself the exposure, the experience he needs to get in the ring, and just, all around become a bigger star. This is the kind of guy I would want on my roster if I was running a wrestling company, just because he is going to put the work in. I already know he's going to do it, and he's going to have fun doing it. So the fact that he already did that to AEW, I think would make him a bigger star when he would return back to MLW when they get back on TV or back on running shows and stuff. I think that just makes him a bigger star, in my opinion. As far as the match, I mean, even if he has the job for Brian Cage tomorrow night, I think he's gonna do just fine, and he's gonna build his reputation and build his name right there. So I'm excited. I'm glad he's doing this, and in fact, this helps AEW more because now they're giving more exposure to talent who are willing to work. Should he be a future site for, let's say, big companies like WWE, AEW, or Impact Wrestling? You ask me. I think it just makes him a bigger star in general. Just because by doing this, I mean, he's proven to them that he's very reliable. He's a guy that you would want on your roster. I don't think MLW can blame Brian Pillman Jr. for doing what he wanted to do at this point. And the fact of the matter is, it's a good thing because that means the brother wants to work. Brother wants to put the time in. Brother wants to put himself out there and make himself a star. So that should only benefit any company that he's a part of in general. Even if it's just a tiny stint, he can actually make the company something in just a small amount of time. Is it going to mean much? Probably not, but it will probably mean a lot to him because then he's got all that lineage. He's been to this company, he's been to that company, And quite honestly, he says he's fine and comfortable in MLW. Um, and I think that he thinks that this whole entire COVID-19 situation opened the opportunity for him to try out other places, so he knows where he will end up probably if he feels like it's time to move on from MLW. And let's be honest, folks, a lot of people who are in different wrestling organizations, the reason why they leave is because they feel like they've done everything they could. So there's going to be a time where Brian Pillman Jr. is going to fly the coop from MLW to go do something different, you know? I mean, he could go to WWE, make a big star for himself in NXT, and next thing you know, he could go to New Japan and make a bigger star out of himself. And he can definitely end up being on the main roster of AEW, which would be cool, you know? I think Brian Pillman Jr. being a top world champion or TNT champion on AEW would be awesome, you know? Just that's my honest opinion. So, you know, what I'm saying, guys, is this. If you are a young wrestling fan and you want to know who's going to be your next big star, you know, possibly going to have the biggest potential right now, I'm looking at this guy because to me that was what Guerrero was when he was in WCW starting out in 94 or 5. That's what I thought about Rey Mysterio as far as 97 goes, because Rey just started to be synonymous with luchador wrestling. When I look at, well, I'm not going to mention his name, but yeah, even that person. So, I'm just letting you guys know. You should be looking, if you guys are trying to get invested in younger stars, well, I'll give you one right here. Get invested in this guy. He's going to be a big star. I promise you that. He's going to probably be just as big or even better than his father was. So, just check him out more, guys. I think he's going to be a great talent. Alright. Next, Bruce Pritchard talks about Kevin Nash being labeled the lowest drawing WWE champion. And this is what Bruce had to say. This was on Something to Wrestle With, by the way. And he goes on to say, Diesel has often been referred to as the worst drawing champion in WWE history. In my notes, I want to ask, when did you start to notice a dip in house shows business? But if you remember, when he won the fucking thing at MSG, there's only 7,000 fans there. 7,000 fans in Huntsville. Would have been a hell of a house. 7,000 fans in a Madison Square Garden means you probably lost money running the damn building. People put heat on Diesel. I did. I remember the night we went to shoot the angle with Goldust and Razor in Bangor, Maine, and Vince was in with Razor and Goldust or whatever, and I'm outside with Hunter and Diesel, and Diesel says, you know, I'm the lowest earning WWF champion of all time. I said, well, it goes hand in hand with the lowest drawing WWF champion. Kevin and I had a few heated words at that point, and you look back at and it's true. Yeah, but you can't, when you truly look at it in hindsight and you look at it with a fresh eyes and a fair assessment, he didn't inherit, he didn't inherit anything. He inherited the championship at a time when the business was at a low point and there was an awful lot for him to work with from that point moving ahead. And I think that was that as the time went on, Diesel did become a draw, and he did get in position where, yes, he did draw money, and obviously did well enough that he was able to parlay that into a hell of a deal at WCW. So, as much as I've picked on Kevin before, I've picked on Diesel and all that shit. Make no mistake about it. You can put all of it on him, and he was doing what he was told. He was still green and doing what he was told. And that falls on us. That falls on us from the creative people that were allowing it to happen, and it was a part of that. And my honest opinion, I agree with Bruce Pritchard on that one. And the fact of the matter is this: Kevin Nash, Diesel was one of my favorite wrestlers at that time in '95 and '94, and quite honestly, and even '96. Believe it or not, I actually believe his best match of all time was with Bret Hart, or with Shawn Michaels, or with an Undertaker. And I think he had a great classic with Diesel. I mean, not Diesel. I mean Sid. Back then in WWE, but it wasn't that advertised because it was on a In Your House show. As far as Nash goes, guys, as far as lowest drawing champion in WWE history, or lowest earning champion of all time, I'm going to be 110% honest. I think he was earning as much as the company was earning at that time. Just like how Bruce Pritchard has just said here, it falls on them. It truly does, because when you look back, 94, 95, and early 96 wasn't the best years of professional wrestling. I know a lot of people like to go back to 94, 95, 96, 97 because of Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and Undertaker and all that. But unless you guys have actually sat down and watched the New Generation era at that time with watching Nitro and all that, yeah. To be honest, from my experience, because I watched both Nitro and Raw around those times, I gotta be honest with you. I mean, Diesel drew pretty good money at that time. He was actually a good draw for that time. Because you guys gotta remember, WCW wasn't drawing much. WWF at that time was drawing what it could. You know, I mean, when you think about it, 7,000 in Madison Square Garden, as he's saying. If there's 7,000 in Madison Square Garden, you know the business is doing crappy. Because Madison Square Garden, they love their WWF. They love wrestling over there. And when the freaking house is 7,000 fans, it's almost as if you're not running a damn show at all. It's almost like you're trying to run an exhibition hall that's only for a day, and it's not really that much people. So when you look at Diesel's situation in general, or Kevin Nash's situation in general, for that time, he did what the best he could, and you know, he even said it too. It started to get stale pretty fast. And I think Bret even said it, where Kevin was done after he beat Shawn at WrestleMania 11, you know. In my honest opinion, I believe that's the case, because Kevin, to me, drew money. People wanted to see Diesel. People were on that Diesel power. There was a lot of people who were cheering for Diesel. And here's another thing. I mean, as much as people want to say Kevin Nash is a shitty wrestler or doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, you guys got to remember, that man's an intelligent man, for one. Two, I'll bring you guys one crazy one, because I know some of you are going to go like, wait, what the fuck? How did that happen? And that was, in 95, he wrestled against PCO, where he was in a main event, where basically Kevin was more over than PCO in PCO's hometown of Montreal. Or I think it was Montreal or Quebec. I don't remember, but he was... The logic in that match was PCO felt like he was going to get the hometown hero reaction, and Kevin Nash was going to get booed out of the ring. So Kevin decided, so since you're damn over, I'll just play heel. You be babyface. You be baby for the night. I'll be heel. And when they went out there, the definition, especially as what Kevin said on, I believe it was on kayfabe commentaries, he said it was like, sounds like 1,000 to 1, buddy. I mean, really, there's more Diesel chance than PCO chance, you know. Which today's fan base would be like, what the fuck? How did that happen? And the fact of the matter is just back then, PCO wasn't as over as Kevin Nash was, or as Diesel was over. So in general, Diesel's like asking him, hey man, you might want to change the finish. I mean, it's gonna be a shitty deal. And he's gonna like, no. All right, then we'll have the shitty deal then. And the fact is, it's like when I look at Kevin Nash, he knows how to do business right, and he knows when to do it right. Has that been obscured over the years, especially with the finger poke of doom? I think so, but I think that was more a Hulk and Kevin trying to put something together just so they could face Goldberg. Did they have the foresight that Goldberg was going to do stupid shit? I laugh because if I was Kevin Nash in his shoes back then and I was deciding the finger poke of doom for Goldberg to make his huge comeback by taking down everybody in the NWO, I would have said, yeah, that's a great fucking idea. Because then we can build him again. They loved it when he was being built undefeated. If we build him where he's now being taken seriously by the NWO, it just makes him a bigger monster. It makes him a bigger showstopper. I totally get that logic in general. The thing about it is, did we have the foresight that this was going to happen with Goldberg? No, we didn't. So you can't blame Kevin there. And as far as 1995 as being WWF champion, I don't think you can really... I look at it this way. Brett didn't need to be champion in 95. As much as people love Brett, I love Brett. Brett was my favorite wrestler in 95. I'm going to say this much. Brett was better off doing his stuff with Jerry Lawler, Hakushi, all that stuff going on in 95. And eventually working back to Kevin to gain the belt back. But as far as Kevin goes, Kevin was the right guy for that championship at the right time. The reason why is just because in 95 they didn't really have a big guy to be champion. And they didn't want to have Brett because they didn't want to wear Brett out. I mean, we already saw how that does with John Cena. But back then with Brett, Brett's run, they wanted to make it special enough. And I think Brett would rather get other guys over before, becoming overexposed with that championship, So for Kevin to be champion as long as he did in 95, that was the best time for him to be champion because they weren't ready to pull the trigger on Shawn. Vince was not convinced. As far as Taker goes, Taker's being Taker, doing Taker stuff. Basically trying to be more contemporary. They had a lot of plans for Taker to grow as a major monster, So when I look at 95, I don't think they have anything to regret, really, about with Diesel's run. Is it the lowest time for a WWE champion? Yes, but it's also the lowest time in wrestling business. Well, after today's side of the industry, that might have all changed, but during 95 and 94 and 96, I think you had the right people for the job to be champion. And then even in 97, you had the right people for the job. It's just the business didn't reflect it. And like Kevin will probably tell you, a lot of the gimmicks in WWE at 94, 95, and early 96 was mostly gimmicks that were like occupations. There wasn't any real wrestling gimmicks at the time. The guys who were real were the ones who were over. Rest of the guys who had like all the occupation gimmicks, they were flopping at the time. Thank God for Kane, he was able to save his gimmick, and become the monster that we know today. But like, let's say this. If you look in early 96 when Stone Cold was the ringmaster, it wasn't really catching on the world. People knew Austin was good, but at the same time, as the ringmaster, it's like, yeah, that's kind of flat, dude. Yeah. It's like a flat beer that doesn't taste good. So when he becomes Stone Cold, it's like your favorite IPA, in general. And then let's think about it. A lot of talent there, I think there's... WCW had the more athletic talent, let's just be honest. And WWE at the time, they were focusing on athleticism and making their main event guys based off their actual athleticism at the time. it's to me, it's just that particular time was that transition time, and the people who needed to go and be the champion at that time to be at the transition were the right people. So you guys want to say Kevin Nash is the worst champion ever? I'm gonna tell you, I can beg to differ on that. You know, because I give Kevin the credit for '95. He put in the work. Come on. You guys need those transitional champions, to be honest. Especially when you're trying to look for your main event star. And I think Kevin was the right guy. If not Kevin, Razor would have been the next guy I would have put the title on. Because I don't think they were ready for Shawn. I just don't think they were ever going to be ready for Shawn until '96. Shawn really had to fight for his spot, folks. I'm just going to say that much. Alright. Next. WWE reportedly tore up the original SummerSlam card in the latest changes. So, as being reported here by WrestleVotes, it says, was told this weekend the projected SummerSlam card that creative had in place a few months ago has been torn up. Edge's injury played a big part, as well as the lack of audience. No fans means WWE has little desire to have Lesnar on pay-per-view. 2 major matches scraped. Wow. So that's like the Edge match and the Lesnar match is not going to happen at SummerSlam. Quite honestly, I can kind of get it. And it's just because there's nobody to really go like, oh, wow. There's no one to come for Brock, obviously, because there's not going to be anybody to go like that when they see him, you know. You know, my expression on there, it just shows like, it's not so much you're shocked to see Brock Lesnar in person. It's more like when you see him in person, you're just like, this dude is fucking powerful. This dude's an actual fucking monster. This dude is a genetic freak. I mean, it's the equivalent of what Party Rock used to do. Party Rock is in the house tonight. Or, what do you call that? What is that? I'm Sexy and I Know It, where Ron Jeremy is watching him in the music video. Watching him trying to go over there and start wiggling in their fucking G-string, or what is that? Speedo and shit that they were doing? Yeah. And he was like that. There is not going to be a Brock. If there's no fans, there's nobody to really be like attracted to Brock, you know. Though I know fans at home would love to see Brock in general. Edge. Well, I kind of figured Edge's part was going to play a major factor in it because nobody expected Edge to get hurt right away. I mean, that's just a fact. So I was kind of expecting Randy to have a different match, you know. I was hoping against Christian, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, guys. SummerSlam's going to be interesting, that's for sure. And the thing is, I think they were, well, before this outbreak happened again, I think they were planning to open up on arenas with social distancing guidelines for fans, you know. But don't look like that's happening, you know, unfortunately. Alright, we're going to go into the big news here with, actually this is as broke out this morning, was Tammy Lynn Sitch, or you as you guys will know, Miss Fitch, or Sunny. So, apparently the police today has gotten some sunny days, my friends, because Sunny has been arrested in New Jersey. She is currently locked up in a Monmouth County Correctional Institution and was processed at 4:42 p.m. this afternoon. Sitch was arrested for, and this is what she was charged for, was operating a motor vehicle during a second license suspension, eluding a police officer, in contempt of violation of domestic violence and restraining order. As it is writing, there is no other details. Sunny is currently on parole. after she was released earlier this year. So, guys, I'm going to say this. Is justice being upheld by the police department? Apparently in New Jersey, it's done. She is in jail. She's definitely going to have sunny side up through the back door now. Oh, fuck, Sonny. What the fuck, man? What the flying effing fuck? You would think she'd have more common sense than this. Oh, I can't wait to hear more details when they come out, but damn. Damn. When people saying the police are not doing their job, wow, they did their job. And guess what? For all those people who are protesting, this is a white woman. Not only just a white woman, but a out front cut white woman. The bitch went to jail. It's not funny that somebody goes to jail, but in my opinion, in Sonny's case, it's just funny. It's just funny. I'm sorry, guys. I've lost respect for Sonny for a while, and yeah. And here's the thing, guys. This is why she's arrested. For one, she's driving when her license has already been taken away. And then she's eluding a police officers and contempt violation of domestic violence. Which means she was willing to scrap with somebody. And on top of that, she was trying to get away from a police officer. So, in general, this white woman, folks, has and utterly broken the law 3 times here. And for that matter, you think people would have common fucking sense not to fucking run from a fucking cop? That's why I fucking laugh. Because common sense, police officer turns on his lights, he flags you down, which means you stop your ass. Hey, if you get a ticket, fuck, you're gonna have to deal with the ticket, but at least you live another fucking day. They don't bring an ass whooping to you. They don't try and kill you. You just get busted. That's it. You get ticketed, fine. You got to pay a fine? Fuck, whatever. Oh, what about community services? What the fuck you can do to community services? Just get the fuck over with it. You broke the fucking law. You did the crime, now pay the time. And here's another fucking thing, too. She ran away from him. You know, a lot of people have been getting killed out there lately because they're running away from the police. You would think common sense. Don't run from the fucking police. And then violation, contempt, and domestic violence. So I'm guessing she must have beat the shit out of the cop for something to happen. Which my parents told me, don't ever fight with the fucking police. It will only get you into more shit. I don't know how I can beat this up more into you guys. This is fucking common sense shit. You get pulled over. Fucking comply. Comply. Be respectful. Just get this shit over with and go home. You'll live another day. Fuck. Not saying that Sonny got killed, guys, but she obviously is lacking common sense in the sense of the word here. Like a lot of other people are. But in her case, she's just lucky. Alright. So, going off of that, yeah. We're actually going to be talking about another social thing that I'm not going to joke around or, you know, throw a fit like I did with Sonny just now. But Sonny Kiss, you know, has been discriminated the last week ever since his match with Cody has been announced for Fight for the Fallen. For those of you who don't know, there was a fan who basically was upset with Cody for putting up a title against, well, I'm just going to use the word, but I'm just using it in quotations of what they said. I didn't say this, they said. They're basically like, how dare you defend... the title against a guy who obviously is a effing faggot, and basically his finish is he shoves his face in your ass. And you know, Cody ripped the fan, guys. Cody ripped the fan. In fact, let me tell you what Cody had to say about that person, because I agree in all sense with Cody on this one. Because, hey, even though I don't advocate for homosexuality at all, you know, I don't think they need to be discriminated because of their sexuality. I mean, if they're gay, hey, they're gay. What are you going to do about it? You know, it's their life. I still love, look, I don't advocate for gay or homosexuals, but you know what? I still love them as people, because they are good people too. Remember that. Even if you don't agree with their lifestyle, they're good people still. And Cody said this to that fan and said, "This is terrible, and you're not worth the signal boost. But I'll make this clear to fans worldwide. If you have a problem with a gay man receiving a title shot, you can kiss my ass. I'm proud to share the ring with Sonny." And you know what? I say, God bless you, Cody Rhodes, you know. Because, for those of you guys who don't know, I'm going to bring this back up because I just accidentally clicked out of it, but shit, even, and there we go. Alright, let's get him back up. Alright, so, I agree with Cody because Sonny's actually pretty good in the ring. I actually like watching Sonny Kiss out there. He can actually wrestle. And he's unique in general. As a character, he is very unique. And I think as far as the LGBTQ wrestlers out there, he's playing with that kind of gimmick. I think he's doing it the best way he can. It's very contemporary. I love what he's doing with Joey Janela. And I love the fact that he and Goldust teamed up together, you know. So Sonny's got my blessings. He can have a title shot all he wants. I mean, that's what makes him worthy of the championship, because he stands out. He's unique. He's a good character. And from what I've heard, he's a pretty good person too. A very good guy. So, I say God bless Cody for standing up for his fellow man right there. And you know, hey, if you guys are gonna be intolerant to a gay person, get the fuck over yourself. I mean, they could be intolerant to you, but they choose to tolerate you. Think about that. And Sonny Kiss responded to all the love that he's gotten from the fans, and he says this. I'll close with this. Sadly, I imagine people on social media who spewed hatred are often often feeling more pain and sadness than what they're inflicting on others. I won't speak for everyone, and I will continue to respect everyone's responses that come naturally to them. We're human. We have emotions. For me, I try my best not to counter hate with hate, but rather with confidence. An eye for an eye, well, you know the rest. To LGBTQ community with the rainbow flag, this Wednesday, it's on. This is not only for me, but for us. I'm going into this match feeling better than ever. And I say best of luck, Sonny, because you're going to go up against one of the best wrestlers in the world in Cody Rhodes. And I think you're going to shine. I just believe you're going to shine in this match. And for that person to say that you didn't deserve a title shot is really stupid in general. Alright. Because when did and I'm going to say this, guys, when did sexuality become a wrestling move? I mean, for real. When did that become a standard bearer for wrestling champions? I mean, fuck. Darren Young is gay and he fucking won the tag team championships. He was getting an actual push. And he got even praised by the biggest company in the world, even though, you know, they kept him under, you know. I tell you this, the worst thing I've ever seen someone from the LGBTQ community that wrestled in professional wrestling, that's the worst I've ever seen them at or do with that kind of gimmick, guys, is Orlando Jordan. And I think that's just common sense from TNA. I was like, dude, why'd you let him do that? I mean, that's kind of X-rated and kind of gross at the same time. Whereas I'm watching Sonny Kiss right here, this is a decent version. And quite honestly, it's unique. And you know what? I I enjoy watching Sonny Kiss out there kick ass, you know? I mean, quite honestly, he's doing it right. And then you look at Darren Young, he's doing it right too. He's just doing what he does best, being a great wrestler, trying to be himself. When you let somebody do freaky shit like what you did with Orlando Jordan, that's when it becomes too much, in my opinion. But Sonny's not doing that shit. Neither is Darren Young. Never was Canyon either. I mean, for crying out loud. So, for that fan who wants to be like that, you're really stepping your boundaries, because you're in the wrong. I mean, this is nothing like what happened with Orlando Jordan, guys. This is somebody who's actually being themselves in the ring and just enjoys it. And when you watch in the ring, they're pretty good in there. I'm not going to hate it. I actually like it. I like it because it's unique. It's different. And you know what? That's what's missing in a lot of wrestling today, is people who are being unique, especially in wrestling styles and moves. I mean, how many times do I have to see a super kick before I see someone try to go for an enziguri finish, you know? Just saying. Alright. So, I'm going to say this. Sonny is going to do great stuff in AEW. And whether he's gay or not, you know? That's just my honest opinion. Alright, so backstage news on who produced the Sheamus and Hardy urine segment. The person who did this was Devon Dudley. Oh man, I actually love this this segment in general, just because it was brilliant. You had Sheamus being obnoxious as hell with that drug testing, and then you just have Jeff Hardy, who's going to be a smart ass and just toss the damn piss in Sheamus' face, you know. To me, that was awesome. That was a great segment. For those of you guys who are wondering why I like this segment so much, well, it's just because it goes back to when Austin pissed on Arn Anderson. It was fucking awesome. It was hilarious. And the best part of it all was, like, they ended it with the words, "It's better to be pissed off than to be pissed on." And quite honestly, I think in this situation where you got Jeff Hardy and Sheamus, I think they are really complementing each other. I think it's going to be a very underrated story angle, in my opinion, just because a lot of fans don't get it, they don't understand it, you know, and they don't like the idea that Jeff's real life is being implemented in here. And you know what? I can understand that, but if Jeff's okay with it, why go against it, you know? And quite honestly, it's making good TV. Realistic shit, too. And I can honestly tell you this. I can see Jeff Hardy throwing piss in somebody's face after they fucking be very obnoxious and mocking him the whole fucking time, you know? I probably would have done the same. And look at it. Look at those showers going, Sheamus. It was hilarious. And Sheamus made himself look like a buffoon in all imaginable, you know? I felt this segment was great. So, big props to Devon Dudley. Alright. Next, I guess, Booker T thinks John Cena had the greatest career in professional wrestling. And this is what Booker said. Every time Cena and I have crossed paths, he doesn't say hi. Booker T revealed, What's up, Book? That's our code, because I tried my best to teach Cena the art of Shakespeare when we worked, and I made sure I gave him every ounce of knowledge I had. No one took that knowledge better than John. This guy's got a limited skill set, but he's a guy who's taken that skill set and parlayed it into the greatest career in history of the business. That's not a knock or anything like that. You can take very, very little and make so much out of it, which John has done. So many guys just don't understand that. They just bury it if they don't understand it because they haven't been taught it. But John was that sat under the tree, the learning tree. He made sure he soaked every ounce of knowledge up, and I wish the young guys out there can kind of look at it the same way. But a lot of them have. They give me a call from time to time. I agree with Booker. You know, I mean, I think John Cena got really, really great when he did wrestle Booker. I think Booker was that right guy for him to wrestle. And every time Booker and John always wrestled against each other, Booker and John both came out looking like $1,000,000. I mean, I loved it when Booker and John Cena had that United States Best of 7 series, which was freaking awesome. I think Booker and John, when Booker was King Booker and John was the WWE champion, you know, they had that champion versus champion. I think Booker made a bigger star than he was. I actually feel like that last big run Booker T had in WWE as King Booker was awesome. Just awesome. And quite honestly, if I had to go by, you know, I would want to learn. If I actually took my wrestling career seriously, back when I actually started and actually kind of gave up on at the time. Well, I didn't give up. I had bigger priorities to take care of. But if I had gotten the chance to be mentored by Booker T, I would want to listen to everything he had to say and try to learn from it because, quite honestly, Booker's been to the top and he's been to the low of the low. I mean, for crying out loud, when I was deciding to go into a new wrestling school, I was deciding back in 2007, I was deciding to go into wrestling school big time. And the one school I really wanted to, it's just I didn't have the money to go and go for it, you know. For one was Booker T's wrestling school. I wanted to go to Booker T. I wanted to get trained by Booker T. Because, for one, Booker T is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, especially in WCW. I mean, every match I've watched of Booker in WCW, I was always a fan. He was one of those guys, they could have all the crappiest matches on the fucking card, but if Booker T is on the card, I'm watching his match. I'm making sure I'm watching his match. And quite honestly, that's the guy I really, really loved in the ring. I mean, I genuinely grew. Like I did with Bret Hart in WWE, and a Stone Cold Steve Austin, Booker T was just like that. And quite honestly, that's why I wanted to go learn from him back in 2007. I just didn't have the money to go travel, and I didn't have the money to go sign up for those classes. I'm pretty sure there would have been a way I could have found a way to do it, but it's just I didn't have the money to travel. That was one of the biggest things, and I didn't know what I would do for room and board. You don't think about that shit when you're young, too, by the way. You just don't. You don't think about it. But I think around that time, that's where I needed to be more realistic and think about priorities, like what I needed to do with my own life. But if I had gone with it, I would have loved to be training under Booker T, just because how great. And even if I just wrestled for reality of wrestling for the majority of my career, or even get into a low indie show, I would have been happy with that because I know for a fact I would have been trained by one of the best, and I would have understand more from the best. So that's what I like. That's what I'm going to tell you guys. The reason why I wanted to go to another school in the mainland, by the way, wrestling school in the mainland, versus wrestling school down here. Wrestling school down here is really a good training center, yeah, but if you don't make a name for yourself in the mainland, doesn't matter how big a star you become here, you might just be stuck here. If you don't go to the mainland, you don't make a big. Like in Hawaii, if you try and make a name for yourself in the Hawaii circuit, and you never go to the mainland circuit, you're never gonna leave Hawaii. That's just a fact. And I want to be one of the best. So, in order for me to do that, I would have had to go and learn from the best. And the only person that's close over here to being the best, or even into that level of professional wrestling, is Don Morocco. And I didn't know how to get in contact at the time, so So I was looking at mainland. I actually, two guys I wanted to learn from was Raven and Booker. Did I want to go to the Heart Dungeon like everybody would talk about? I did, but I found out they were closed, so it's just, oh man. But yeah, guys. The fact that, and when I look at John took everything that he learned. And the one thing I think most people don't realize is that John doesn't give two shits about what the rest of the locker room think of him, because the locker room already has their own opinion of him. So he didn't worry about that. He worried about making sure that he did his job right every night. So I agree with Booker, and honestly, of all people I would want to listen to in that locker room of becoming a true WWE superstar and a true professional in the ring, I would learn from Booker T. I would want to be mentored by Booker T in that sense, you know? So, for the young guys out there who ain't listening to him, you need to listen. That's all I'm going to say. Young guys, like Booker's saying, it's like the young guys should actually sit under the learning tree. I totally agree with it. I mean, that's how you get better at your craft, especially if the person's willing to teach you guys. You know? Alright, speaking of great black world champions, Keith Lee, a future top of the line, best of the best black world champions in wrestling, had a lot to say this past weekend, especially after Adam Cole. So the first thing he says on his conversation with Cole after the match, it wasn't on air, obviously, but there were just a moment of celebration. The pyro I was expecting, the confetti, and all this crazy stuff, and I'm all covered. I look down and I see him in the corner, and that guy is awesome. In that moment, I had to tell him that he gained a new level of respect for me. I shook his hand, and that was the first conversation I had. And then that's his first conversation he had after winning the titles, guys. On his title victory without an audience, he says, I can say I missed the crowd, but that's because the connection we have. We being me and the WWE Universe, but I don't think it's something that really registered for me in that match, because there's such a certain level of intensity and competition when the focus is so heavy on the fact, hey, this is a championship match. No, wait, this is not only a championship match, this is also a champion versus champion match. And now this is a winner-take-all match, and you're talking about the top two guys in this brand. I was locked in. It didn't matter who was there and who wasn't there. Adam Cole is someone you give respect to when you're in the ring, and he commands it. You can feel it in his aura. When he steps in the ring, and if you're not there to do battle, you're probably going to get stomped on. And what's next for Keith Lee, he asks? Everyone asks. It's hard to tell what's going to happen, because you can't just predict the future. My thought process, my belief is to try to be as ready as I can for whatever circumstance occurs. In this instance, I just have to keep myself ready for a 25-minute brawl, knockdown, drag-out main event with Adam Cole and come out victorious. And you know what? I love that. I love this guy is going to be a future main eventer, guys. A top-of-the-line main eventer for WWE in the main roster. I can honestly see him winning the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship. I mean, Keith Lee's been really, really awesome in the ring. You guys can't deny that whatsoever. I mean, that's just a fact. I believe this guy is going to be one of the next great champions, the next great pillar for even African-American champions. And quite honestly, I love it. I mean, I love what he does. He's great in the ring. And the fact, and here's the thing. I looked at Shawn Michaels, and he couldn't make up his mind of who he wanted to win this match, because he liked both guys. So, in general, I say Adam Cole and Keith Lee are going to be the two top stars in the WWE in the future. And whether they're on Raw or whether they're on SmackDown or whether they're on the same show together, I think these guys are going to headline WWE for years to come. So, I say I'm just going to enjoy this Keith Lee run, and I'm gonna enjoy a lot of what's going on in WWE right now. It's just great stuff. All right, and then we have we're on our last article of the day, which was reported on Friday. It's more on Tessa Blanchard's firing from Impact Wrestling. Doesn't really tell much, but I can tell you this much, man. And it's not because of her own wrongdoings before, because I know a lot of fans are going to say, well, she was like that about being with the racial comments. How did you not think she was going to not be fired for something, being a bitch? And the fact of the matter is, I like to look into the story more fully. I want to know what was the actual, thought going into it. So, quite honestly, we don't have the full story just yet, but this is what came out on Impact's side, apparently. And it says, just a few days before her contract was scheduled to expire on June 30th, she is a free agent as of this writing. Impact officials wanted to bring her back in one more time to drop the Impact World title. They couldn't agree to terms and wound up firing her instead, as reported, where we were told she was acting like a complete bitch during negotiations. And there was no way they were going to agree on terms. So that's Impact's basically statement, is that she was acting like a complete bitch for when they were negotiating a contract and even the title, Now, the Wrestling Observer has gone on and said Blanchard had told Impact that she wasn't willing to travel and work during the pandemic. She claims she offered Impact a one-date price to come in, drop the title at Slammiversary on July 18th. Which is this, I believe that's next Wednesday, guys. Although there is no word on the exact money figure. Wait, is that when? No, that's Sunday, isn't it? Wait, guys. I have to check. No, that's Saturday. So Slammiversary is Saturday. My bad, folks. My bad. So she claims she offered them a one-date price. Although there is no word on how much she was asking, it has been said to be an extremely high price, and Impact wasn't going to pay for it. And then, for what it's worth, guys, Daga is still under contract with Impact. As of this writing, it appears he continues to work and was willing to try and leave Mexico to take part in the last taping. As of this writing, he's not booked for Slammiversary. So this whole thing with Tessa Blanchard, guys, it's wow. It's a hot mess in general. The fact that Daga is even being affected by it now, because he, for better or worse, is married to Tessa Blanchard. And what it sounds like is Impact's not going to be willing to bring him back because of Tessa. That's what it sounds like. I'm not sure that's the case, but that's what it sounds like. And as far as Tessa's situation goes, wow. Just wow. I don't think she was being a complete bitch. I think she knew her worth, and I think she wanted to have some kind of security thing. I don't know, guys. I'm not Tessa Blanchard. I can't explain to you what was her thinking. But it doesn't sound too unreasonable, especially if her contract was about to expire. Let alone her just coming in for one time only to drop the damn title. It doesn't make sense to me. And quite honestly, I have to be real, guys. I think Tessa Blanchard is too big for Impact. I think she needs to go somewhere else. That's just my honest opinion. I think she needs to explode on someone else's wrestling show, in my opinion, because she's done everything she could on Impact. There's nothing more for her to do other than be a defending fighting champion. And if you really want your career to grow, I mean, she needs to go. She needs to go and do something else because I don't think Impact had any real plans for her after her winning the title. From what it sounds like, they weren't even sure of putting the title on it. That's what it sounds like in this whole argument. Alright, guys. Tell me your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? What do you think about Sunny being arrested? What do you think about Tessa's situation? What do you guys think of Booker T? What do you have to say about John Cena? What do you guys have to think about Keith Lee in general being world champion? And how do you feel about Adam Cole? And then also, tell me your guys' thoughts. Do you think it's a blessing that Kevin Owens, asked Vince to make this implemented with the mask policy? Alright, guys. I'm going to dig now. So you hit a like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. And you know what? Y'all take care. Aloha. Love y'all. Thank you guys for watching again. God bless.